Hello, welcome to Denton Outdoors and welcome to my tiny camper. Today we will be talking about one of my favorite state parks, Caprock Canyon State Park. Caprock Canyon State Park is in the Texas Panhandle, about an hour and 40 minutes away from Amarillo. It took me about 4.5 hours to get there from the DFW area. It costs $5 per person to enter the park, and children under 12 are free. This park has multiple camping options, and this is one of my favorite things about this park. Near the entrance on the rim of the canyon is Lake Theo tent camping and the Honey Flat camping area. When I was visiting, Lake Theo was extremely low. I think there are better tent campsites that we will discuss later. The Honey Flat camping area is for RVs and camper trailers. These campsites have both water and electric hookup. The best part of this campground for sure is the prairie dogs. There are prairie dogs all around this campground, and I spent a lot of time watching the prairie dogs run around and play with each other. Once you get down into the canyon, there are 2 more camping areas for tents only. These are the Little Red River tent camping area and the South Prong tent camping area. I camped one night in the South Prong camping area. The north side of this camping area has amazing views of the canyon, but the south side has a little more seclusion and is a little more covered with vegetation. I chose to camp on the south side of this camping area. There are also 2 primitive camping areas, the South Prong primitive camping area and the North Prong primitive camping area. I camped one night in the North Prong site. Neither area has a specific campsite, but both have an outhouse that you are supposed to camp a certain distance from. During my visit, I was the only person in the North Prong site. I had unbelievable views and even had a bison visit me in the morning. Now let's talk about my favorite thing, the trails. This state park has some of the best hiking I've done in Texas. There are plenty of trails to fill a couple days of hiking. I did nearly all the trails in this park, and I have a pretty good idea as to what trails you might want to hike depending on what you're looking for. Let's start with the Canyon Rim Trail. This trail starts near the Honey Flat camping area and follows the canyon rim. There's an option to start this trail and make a small loop. This trail goes through some prairie lands, and there are some decent views of the canyon along the way. I got pretty far on the trail, but towards the end it got really muddy and I had to turn around and head back. I would imagine this doesn't usually happen, but I would have been plenty satisfied just doing the smaller loop of this trail. I don't feel like I gained a lot continuing past the smaller loop. The Eagle Point Trail is a really neat trail that also starts near the Honey Flat camping area in Lake Theo. If you want a trail that is not too long or too tough, but will get you down into the canyon, this is the trail you want. It starts up in the prairie lands and takes you straight into the canyon. The nice thing about this trail too is since it's not a loop, you can turn back whenever you want. This trail offers a really neat experience compared to the rest of the trails that start in the canyon. The lower north and lower south prong trails offer some amazing wildlife. This loop is pretty long, but it doesn't have a ton of elevation change. While on the trail, I saw a lot of bison, including a family with a few babies. I also saw a turtle, a family of wild boars, and a lot of wildflowers and green vegetation. Now, if you do this trail and you can make it up the Mesa Spur Trail, I highly recommend doing so. I didn't even do all the Mesa Trail, but I knew if I made it up this Spur Trail, I could get some great views. Being up on the Mesa Trail was some of my favorite views in the entire park. The Upper North and Upper South Prong trails seem to be some of the most well-known trails in the park for good reason. Let's talk about the Upper South Prong first. This is my favorite trail in the park. It starts in the canyon, travels through the canyon, and ends on the rim of the canyon. After a really steep climb, that is. Even if you don't want to do the steep climb at the end, I would totally recommend doing this trail as just a simple out and back. The views along the entire trail are amazing. Now, the upper north prong is very similar to the upper south prong, but I didn't think there were as good of views on this trail. The North Prong Canyon seems to be more of a V shape, and the South Prong Canyon seems to be more of like a U shape. And I think the U shape gives you better views along the trail. Finally, the John Haynes Ridge Trail. I did this trail as an out and back real quick my first day in the park. The view near the North Prong Spur Trail is amazing, but the further I went past the North Prong Spur Trail, the views were not quite as spectacular. So just be aware of that as you do this trail. I've already talked a bit about the wildlife, but this park is full of amazing wildlife. Caprock Canyon is home to the Texas State Bison Herd, so you're guaranteed to see some bison while you're in the park. Like I also mentioned, the prairie dogs are amazing. I've never seen so many prairie dogs as I have at the Honey Flat camping area. I also saw a few road runners in the park, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get a good picture, but trust me, they're in the park. If you're looking for great camping, hiking, and wildlife, this is the park for you. Because of the camping, hiking, and wildlife, this is one of my favorite state parks. I can't wait to plan my next visit to Caprock Canyon, and I hope this video helps you plan your visit to Caprock Canyon State Park.